Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
America will beat this virus. And when we do, we will set our minds to success on anything that tries to stop us. God bless America. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith. And God bless America, followed by a Patriot to start the week off right with our Pledge of Allegiance. Please call me right now. Thank you. And a good morning to you and yours, Zeb at the Ranch. And, of course, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They are all open, all 7 locations with a safe, clean atmosphere and environment and the best in tires and service. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And Greystone Crossing, Independent Senior Living, at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance on this Monday. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll give you a big attaboy on that one. Call back a little bit later, my friend. Thank you so much. All righty, he's gone. Time for the weather, and we're going to kick off the weather. Wow, we had a couple, at least, of nice days where the temperature rose and rose and rose, but then it got really chilly the last couple days. K&R Rental is going to bring us the weather at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. Hello, Roger and the crew on the Burley-Paul Highway. But yet, it's springtime. It's springtime, and they've got all the tools and equipment for your gardening and taking care of your lawn or putting in new water lines. Hey, get a hold of them today. Not sure what you need? Well, just give them a call. 678-3122, K&R Rental. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Much cooler temperatures for today and maybe some precipitation later on this week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies for today. A slight breeze out of the east-northeast, about 5 miles an hour. We're only expecting a high of 44. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies. Hopefully you did not plant any of your vegetables because we are expecting a low right around 23. For tomorrow, looks like sunny skies, high of 52. Winds are going to be picking up and gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 37. By Wednesday, we do have a slight chance of rain and or possible snow showers up in the higher elevations. Partly sunny skies with a high of 58. And then for Wednesday night, chance of rain before midnight, chance of snow after midnight, and we are expecting a low right around 31. That's Look at Your Weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to you by K&R Rental, the best of tools and equipment for whatever project you need to take care of. K&R Rental on 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. Get a hold of them today. Questions? Feel free to contact them at 678-3122, K&R Rental. Want to remind you, too, about our friends over at Daryl's Cleaners. Hello, Kevin and Cindy and the whole outfit. I'm telling you, to dry cleaning, as you may or may not know, really helps disinfect clothes and bedding, etc. So please consider they are the best at what they do. Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And also, they'll do your washing if you don't have time. You're busy. They'll wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes, and just like Mama used to. You be sure and stop in and see them today. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Caller, a good morning to you.
Well, a good morning to you too, Zeb.
Hi, buddy. What can I do for you?
Of the people who are in a small town like ours, a restaurant business, for instance, the government is willing to loan them money to pay their employees for the time lost. But what about the owners?
Yeah.
What's going to happen there? It looks like a disaster coming just a little further down the road.
Yeah, and let me say something else too, Keith. I know a little bit about these programs that supposedly are funding for the SBA, Small Business Association, and business owners, and the government and the arguing and the haranguing between the Republicans wanting to have a straight loan basis, in other words, straight money, no additions to SBA, and the Democrats are fighting with them, saying, oh, well, if we're going to pass this, we want to put some other money in for other projects, and they're tying it up. And I know many of the programs that have been designed over the last 2 weeks for SBA and to help people have been changed and altered, and this is, I got to be careful what word I use, balderdash.
I'm afraid you are right, my friend. I don't know what I'd do if I was in business now and I'd been closed down for a month and my employees hadn't had a paycheck, and all of a sudden, we're open for business, folks.
Yeah. And that automatically doesn't...
Employees are going to get paid, but I'm not going to get paid.
Yeah.
I can't even draw a salary because the government won't pay that.
Well, and Keith, it's not going to be a light switch. You know that. You've been in business all your life. It's not going to be an automatic turn on the economy. Everybody go ahead and get there early in the morning and realize you're going to make a profit. No, nothing like that. I am very concerned that it's going to take, and I hate to even make this projection, so criticize me if you think I'm wrong. If we were to open up everything by May 1st, I would tell you that I would doubt seriously if by the end of the year things were rolling even halfway back to normalcy.
You're absolutely right, and at this point it is by design from the Democrats holding off. It's going to possibly cost the president his election, but most of all, it's going to cost the people of our country.
Very well stated. Keith, I always appreciate your call in the morning. Gets things rolling. Thank you, my friend. God bless you and your wife. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hang in there, bud.
All right, thank you. Want to remind everybody about somebody else that's really hanging in there serving you, because they have all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. Let me tell you, that's not brag. That's a fact. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, as they had for almost 7 decades. Wow, that's impressive. They're really nice people and very efficient, knowledgeable, serving you. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. Don't forget where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, my friend.
You know, one thing that gets under my skin is these politicians that are using this to tramp on our constitutional rights.
I could not agree more. Can I say something to you, Doug? I don't mean to interrupt your call, but I think you're going to agree with me in what I'm going to say. So bear with me just a second. You're a good friend. I will never, and I'm underlining the word never, Doug, I will never be told again, ever in what's left of my lifetime, that I cannot go to a church to worship on Easter. I will not allow that to happen again.
I'll stand right beside you. Not behind you, but right beside you, my friend. But this governor up in Minnesota, I think it is saying you cannot sell seeds for gardens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what state it was in where they had a church service where the people were in their cars. The pastor and his band was up on top of the church.
Yep.
And they shut it down because they couldn't do that. I mean, first off, the person that ordered the sheriffs to do that should be tarred and feathered and run out of town.
Well, let's...
Second off, the sheriff that stood and said, yes, we'll do that, should be tarred and feathered and run out of town. The deputies were just doing what they were told, but they should have said, no, that is unconstitutional, and I am not going to uphold that order.
Well, okay, when you look at the First Amendment, do you have the First Amendment memorized, or do you read it and then understand and comprehend it? I know you do, but it says, the right of the people to peaceably assemble. And that's connected to the sentence that says there will be no abridging of the freedom of speech or the press, and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Right now, there is nothing that should impede our having the right to have our religion. It says no law respecting an establishment of religion, and then it goes on, like I said, abridging the freedoms, etc. That was all abridged over Easter.
Exactly.
And let me say this. I don't know the circumstances of your church and how it's laid out. I've never been to your church personally. But you can't tell me that if they would have sent out an edict that said all congregate members will wear masks, there will be no fellowship, there will be no handshaking, please adhere to the instructions of the ushers and sit in alternate seating. Why couldn't they have had a church service of any church denomination?
Well, they should have been able to. I mean, that's just it. I mean, you know, it's really sad when you can close down churches and close down casinos. I mean, that's the devil and the Lord agreeing on something, but it's a sad day, and I don't think this will ever happen again. I think the Christians will stand up and say no.
It better. They better.
I mean, it's sad, and especially the ones that went out and tried to bust up the ones having the church where the people were in their cars in the parking lot.
I've got stories that have come across our web that have said about people were arrested and taken away from the services in various locations around the United States in handcuffs. I mean, you're arrested at a church service and taken away in handcuffs? That's Easter Sunday?
I know it. Yep, and remember what it says in the book of Revelations, what is right is wrong, and what is wrong will be right.
Right there. Spot on. Very good. Doug, appreciate it. We've got another call waiting, but I appreciate your call. Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody, I know we can't go eat at the senior centers, but call them and ask them if they're doing meals to go. Order a meal to go to help them out.
Amen.
And donate to them when you can. Because
Amen.
When you do donate, you will have a full heart.
There you go, buddy. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Calls are welcome. We'll take the next caller in a moment. Stand by. Don't forget Dino Septic Service. They absolutely are doing a job that you don't want to do. No. I do not want to pump out a septic tank. I don't want anything to do with sewer and sink drain line cleaning. No. They do, and they do the job so well. The best of backhoe services, septic tanks and drain fields installed, mainline irrigation installation and repair. They are the best, and nice people, too. Very fast, very friendly service. Call them at 436-6526 or 678-1638. Remember the name Dino's Septic Service with that big truck that says, smells cargo on the way. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. What country do we live in? This sounds like any of the communist totalitarian countries around the world, and America's becoming that because of this virus. You know, and Zeb, let's realistically look. Okay, this whole shutdown was based on a model, and the model said there were 2.2 million were going to die. The model they came up with, they keep lowering it, lowering, lowering. And the model they said last week was 60,000.
Yeah.
Now, if you do the math, 60,000 compared to 2.2 million, that's 2.7%. 2.7%. They're 97.3% wrong. And a lot of those 22,000 have died, would have died anyway, but now, of course, thanks to Dr. Brooks, anybody that's with the virus, when you die, is considered a coronavirus victim. So thousands of people die in New York City every day, and they're basically, those 22,000's probably down to 15,000 when you get to realistic figures. So we're being led down the primrose path, but not being able to go to church, that is a violation, as you've been mentioning. Our constitutional rights have been suspended, and we're basically into a totalitarian thinking. And our governor, again, needs to be called 334-2100. Stop this shutdown before it totally destroys. You know, Zeb, I've got friends that sell potato growers now that opened the fresh market is doing very well because people are at home. But the French fry guys, the processed potatoes, they're holding the thousands of sacks of potatoes that are not going to get processed because all the drive-ins.
Yeah, but Adrian, let me jump in there just for a minute and say something. That's all well and good about who's good, who's doing bad, etc. right now, but look at the poor guy that's ready to plant, or is already planted, I should say, and he doesn't know what September, October projections are, if he's going to have a market to go to grocery stores and or restaurants or whatever. This whole thing's all torn up in turmoil.
Oh, absolutely, and look at those poor growers down in Florida that produced on contract for Disney World and different, the big theme parks down there. They, you can imagine the amount of food. All that food right now is being plowed up or rotting in the fields and down in Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, this is economic disaster of economic. I don't know if we close this thing down soon, but Dr. Fauci and Birx, they're deep state. Now, Birx, I understand her husband's a flaming liberal. Doesn't surprise me. Fauci, I think Trump is finally kind of waking up to the fact that this guy really doesn't care about our country.
Okay, well, wait a minute. I just can't have you ramble for a minute. I want to interject something. Regardless of Dr. Fauci or Dr. Birx, put them out of the picture right now and just concentrate on President Trump himself. This man, and I wrote a blog about it this last week, this man right now is sitting on the fence. If he gets a little breeze from one way, he's going to get pushed off. If he gets a little bit of breeze the other way, he's going to get pushed off. He can't win. He's in a no-win situation, making a huge decision that could very definitely affect his reelection in the fall. You got to give this man a lot of credit. You've got to give this man a lot of heartfelt feelings, because I wouldn't want to be in his shoes this week.
Well, you're absolutely right. He's really between a rock and a hard spot. But he's allowing the deep state people, and I mean Fauci and Birx, to take over, making the decisions. And like I say, he's got, I think the tweets out this morning that I saw, he's beginning to have some doubts about. But when you're 97.3% wrong and shutting down the country, there's something really wrong. And I think a lot of people that I've talked to that had colds, I think this virus has been around for a long time, and they had colds that lasted for 3 weeks. Very unusual. The symptoms were quite different.
Yeah.
It was like a regular cold, but different. But it took 3 3 weeks to wear it out. And I know several people that said, I don't think it was the flu, but it's something, it was different. It was a different kind of a cold.
I've got to run and do some commercial.
So I think the thing's been around. The herd immunity, Zeb, I think, is why California doesn't have very much virus, because thousands of Chinese go in and out of California every day.
Yeah.
And until recently, of course, that they all left for Chinese New Year, came back. Maybe some of them were sick. But same way with Sweden over there, they got the herd immunity, apparently.
Yeah, well, I've got to take a commercial break right now, Adrian. I've got to do a break. I appreciate your call. Everything you said is right up front, and I agree with, but I will reiterate what I said earlier. I will never, ever be told again that I can't worship at a church on Easter. Thank you for your call. God bless you. I got to run. Thank you.
Call the governor, 334-2100.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I want to remind everybody about Magic Valley Irrigation. Hello, Jeff and his crew. Man, they are good at what they do, and they appreciate all the business they've had at Magic Valley Irrigation. You better believe it. And serving you again this irrigation season, with all the U-bends, hand line risers, Heliarc welding, pumps, manufacturing, wheel line, elbows, and much, much more. Experts that care about your irrigation needs and help you. That's Magic Valley Irrigation, 44 East, 500 South of Burley. Number to call is 678-3101 or 431-3101. Magic Valley Irrigation. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I understand what politicians are going through right now. I understand what the governor is going through right now, or the governor of any state. But the infringement on religion and the infringements on Christianity, and I'm going to emphasize that, are becoming more apparent every single day of our lives. Last week I had Kelvin Beisner on, and he made some very, very notable remarks regarding how Christianity is taking a real hit, not only here, but around the globe, and how Christians are being ostracized, and Christians are being criticized, Christians are being minimized, and it's about time that we stood up and fought back, and I am. I'm going to be. From Good Friday, this past Friday, through Easter Sunday, I honestly felt very hollow and very controlled. More so than I did on the program last week. It really hit me Friday, especially on Good Friday. And I missed the fellowship. I missed the Easter sermon. I missed the Easter smiles with all the families. I missed the Easter brunch with my family. And it wasn't right. And I personally, from this radio station, if I'm still on the air and God's given me the gift of life even a year longer, I'll never let that happen again. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb. Last night on KMBT News, maybe you already talked about this. I just tuned in the last 5 or 10 minutes and listened to you talking about churches. Last night on KMBT, there was, I don't remember the location, there was some police officers walking around a church parking lot writing down license plate numbers. Did you see that?
Yeah. I didn't see it on KMBT. I heard about it, and I have some other paperwork on it, which it's such a revolting, absolutely disgusting turn of events that I have to really watch my language and my verbiage on how I say this.
Well, I know they're trying to keep social distancing. I understand that, but it just causes me to have a chill up my spine to see that. I don't know why it does. It just gives me the willies to see that. It's just, Why does it do that to me? Why does it give me the willies to see them doing that?
Because it's a taking away of what has been assumed a freedom to express your right of religion in this country. You know what it is as well as I do. And you're very, very scared about it, like I am. I don't like Gestapo people saying, thou shalt not do this, you will be handcuffed. I mean, our Constitution is being trashed. And I agree with the callers that have called in over the last couple of weeks. And like I said, I think I'll read the First Amendment right now in its entirety, and then we can talk about it. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. There you go, prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And they're taking away congregate members in handcuffs? I'd say that's kind of slowing down the process, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I just wanted to kind of confirm for me that I wasn't having a fear for nothing. You can tell down in your gut when something's not right, yet they make it look right. You see what I'm saying?
I do. And here's the thing that irritates me, and I mentioned this to the governor last week, and I understand that the governor is really getting pressure points from both sides of the fence, like I said a few moments ago. But you let some businesses open that are going to be congregating places, hardware stores or other stores, and they're essential. And then you say to the local jewelry store owner that maybe gets 1 or 2 customers per hour, you're not essential, so you have to close down. And the same with the church. I mean, my goodness, there are ways, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, that they could have put in the church bulletin, they could have put it on emails, they could have had various parishioners call other parishioners and say, we're going to have a church service, but it's going to be a little different. Everybody's told that we're a mass coming in, and we're going to have alternative seating, and there's not going to be a fellowship hour, and you still could have had the service, but not to be harangued by a Gestapo putting handcuffs on people.
I agree. I'll hang up and listen to other people.
Thank you. God bless you for your call. I mean that. Thank you very much. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb, over the weekend I was at some friends of mine who are dairymen, and I says, how much milk are we dumping? And they didn't know the exact amount, but a lot. And so you hear these dairymen, the price of milk has been down for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
It started to correct. And now all of a sudden they're just dumping it down, into the lagoon. And so they have to pay all the production costs. And I just don't know. It's just like you were talking about farmers and planting beets, or like they haven't planted spuds yet, but, they will. And, if they're going to have a contract, like I've said last week about the barley contracts, if there'll be any next year, because, people are not out doing things and enjoying themselves and drinking beer. And so, but these dairymen, I don't know how long you can continue to dump milk into your lagoon after you paid all that money to produce it.
Randy, I want to give you a lot of credit. A couple of weeks ago when you called, and I was taking the stand that I was going to ride the horse with being very careful for a short period of time to see how this thing went. You were on the other side, basically saying that you wish the economy and all the doors were open, and we had kind of a difference of opinion at that time. But now I'm looking at this thing to where I'm hearing some of these mucky mucks that have never taken their wingtip shoes off or their three-piece suits and really been out in the workforce saying, well, maybe we should lock up America for a year to make sure the virus is dead. And I'll tell you, I'll be the first one revolting right with you in the front line because we have to get back to work.
Well, okay, I go to Walmart, and they had me standing 6 feet apart outside, but as soon as I walked in, there's no way you can follow everybody around as they shop. So everybody that's not wearing a mask, 95% of the people think it's a joke that's shopping. And I asked the people that had masks on, I said, your immune system is God created immunity in your body to, it can create, it can, I don't want to call it mutate, but it can change and fight off, lots of things. So the mutation of a virus is bad. The strengthening of your immunity system is better. And herd immunity is going to solve this, not social distancing. I'm not saying we need to kiss each other, but, it's just like, we go into Walmart and everybody thinks it's a joke. If I get next to somebody, I don't want to get too close. They say, this is the biggest joke I've ever seen. Some of the stuff that people said to me Saturday,
Yeah, but wait a minute.
So serious.
Well, wait a minute, Randy.
Go ahead.
Yeah, wait. I just want to interject something. I disagree with you up to a point about joke or when it pertains to the elderly or people that have underlying conditions. I absolutely adhere to the fact that if Deanne and I are out in public and if we have to go to a store, if we need to go get meds at a pharmacy, whatever, we will wear a mask to protect ourselves. But I am not saying that business should close down. I am not saying that everybody should adhere to the same health standards. But to have a church service, I want to get back to the original point of contention. To have a church service be basically overcome by mob rule to where they say we're going to arrest you for observing Easter and worshiping our dear Lord, you've seen the last from me. Never again am I going to be told that I can't worship on Easter or any church holiday.
Now, were they writing down license plates in Twin Falls?
That I can't. I can't tell you that because I'm not sure, and I don't have all the particulars. And like I said on my program, I'm not going to speculate. But I know around the country there were problems that they went and arrested congregate members of various churches and ministers and threatened them and everything. That's not going to happen again, and we all need to be very vocal. This turn the other cheek attitude has got to stop, and it's about time Christians stood up and let their voices be heard.
Well, onward Christian soldiers.
You got it, buddy.
To fight for what is right.
That's right.
Again, if we don't, we will end up with what we get, and what we get is not of God. And so, you see, now we need God more than ever, but you see, we need the guide direction of God, the Spirit. In order to have the Spirit, we've got to be in tune as best as we possibly can.
Amen.
And then, we can navigate through this. Sure, if somebody is, wants to come out into public and they're wearing a mask, I have no, it is what it is, and we need to respect each other. But, like I said, the people are just scared to death. I don't know. It sounds like you get another call.
I do have another call, and I appreciate yours. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Caller number 2, I'll be there momentarily. Stand by. I want to remind everybody about Barry Equipment and Rental. Oh, yeah. 3 locations serving you. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin with Eli and the crew. And the Nampa location. And, boy, they got a brand new inventory for this year. They got all the Bobcats. They got all the trenchers. They've got all the scissor lifts. They got all the Doosan wheel loaders. Oh, my. For all the jobs, lifting, digging, pushing, carrying, you better believe it. All of this at Barry Equipment and Rental. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. You stop in and see these really good folks today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you doing?
I'm good, my friend. Thank you.
Well, I hope you had a wonderful Easter.
What there was of it, yes.
This virus thing, we've lost one person in Cassia County, if I'm not wrong, one person in Minidoka County, and one person in Twin. That's a lot of area, these 3 counties, for only 3 people dying, and all the garbage we're going through, all the people that are being hurt by not being able to go to work, not being able to see their family, not being able to go to church, not being able to have a happy Easter which is one of the most wonderful, blessed times of the year for the Christian people. It just plumb upsets me, the garbage we're going through for something that's ridiculous. And to me, it's totally ridiculous because we lose far, far, far more people to other things than this. If they're going to worry so much about a disease that takes 3 people in 3 counties like this, why don't we go after the car wrecks? Why don't we go after the murders? And you know, our politicians are letting criminals out of jail so they can be back on the street doing way more damage than they probably ever did before because they got away with it and they're laughing their head off thinking how great it is. It just upsets me to see what's happening.
I cannot argue with you in any way, shape, or form on what you just said, nor do I want to, because I agree with you. And Easter was not Easter yesterday for our family because we couldn't get together. We didn't have our customary Easter brunch and celebratory means of sitting around a great big table with the whole family. Everything was curtailed, but more so than anything else, there was no church, and that really offends me. Jerry, you're a dear friend of this program. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You have a wonderful day, and may the Lord bless you and your whole audience. And I want to make a comment about church. I think it is just plumb ridiculous to stop such a wonderful thing.
Amen.
As going to church.
Amen.
You have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Jerry. Always appreciate you. Thank you much. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. With the attitude, and I don't want anybody to even bother calling me and trying to argue with me on this point because I'm right. I'm right. There is a concentrated effort right now in this United States with a very sinister left to do away with, diminish, and destroy Christianity and churches and beliefs. I know I'm right on this, so don't argue with me. And I'm going to stand up and be very vocal about it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zev. It goes back to the old saying, nothing ventured, nothing gained. All kinds of things are being tried today to try to put down this pandemic that we've got. Because if it continues on, the economy will be destroyed. How many more people are going to be out of work? There'll be no taxpayers out there to pick up the tab for what's going on.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are trying different things, and which I can't condemn. And I like to see people coming up with new devices to put this pandemic down.
No, what you said, Tony, is very well articulated. I just don't understand where the common thought is in saying that now over 17 million people are unemployed, 17 million, and the numbers are rising as we speak. They're jumping like a roulette wheel. And then the Senate is arguing over SBA, Small Business Association loans. The Democrats want to add a whole bunch of pudding and pie on it. And I say kudos to the Republicans for standing up and saying, no, just straight money for stimulus money. Let's get it done. I mean, we've got haranguing going on in the Senate, which is causing nothing more than a waste of time for business people like myself that absolutely need help.
Oh, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, my whole fear is that more and more of these businesses are closing, and these people are taxpayers.
Yep.
And there's not going to be any money left to help out anybody.
There you go.
This is my fear.
There you go. And then the sleaze. This is something that I get so upset about, I got to really curtail some of my language. But Democrats across the country, and I'm going to mention names here, like Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York, Rashida Tlaib, and others are saying that we should absolutely give coronavirus aid to illegal aliens. We can't even take care of our own. What kind of absolute imbecilic nonsense is this?
You know, these people take an oath when they get into office to protect and serve this country, not to attack and assassinate. And that's exactly what people like Cortez and Alma and the rest of that bunch are doing.
Yeah.
They figure they've got all the protection they need, all the money, all the benefits, and they're not worried about what's happening to people like you and I out in the street.
There you go. Absolutely.
We unload these people, get rid of them. They're nothing more than subversives.
Well, I could not agree with you more. My blood pressure's already at a high peak for this morning, my dear friend Tony. Say hello to Mary. God bless you both. Stay safe, stay well. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Zeb.
All right, buddy. Time for the weather. I'll cool down a little bit during the weather. It's cooler outside. Want to remind you about our dear friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. And they're offering their drive-up clinic during the hours of 10 to 3 during the weekday. And someone will meet you in the parking lot and help you with your hearing devices. They're always there to serve you for the very best in your hearing health. It's Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Number to call, 312-0957. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Much cooler temperatures for today and maybe some precipitation later on this week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies for today. A slight breeze out of the east-northeast, about 5 miles an hour. We're only expecting a high of 44. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies. Hopefully you did not plant any of your vegetables because we are expecting a low right around 23. For tomorrow, looks like sunny skies, high of 52. Winds are going to be picking up and gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 37. By Wednesday, we do have a slight chance of rain and or possible snow showers up in the higher elevations. Partly sunny skies with a high of 58. And then for Wednesday night, chance of rain before midnight, chance of snow after midnight, and we are expecting a low right around 31. That's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Radio.
Gina, thank you. And again, I want to reiterate that for all your hearing health needs, remember Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They absolutely are the best serving you with expert diagnostic tests combined with the best technology at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Number to call, 312-0957. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I am anxious to see some of the emails that I'm sure I will receive after this program by those of the left that don't have, nor never will have, the courage to call during the program and criticize me or the stands I take. But I will say it one more time, that there will never, ever be in my lifetime church closings to the point where the government's in control and telling us, no, they're going to arrest us or put us in handcuffs. I will not adhere to that ever again. And I mean it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. As you know, I agree mostly with everything that you do as we discuss things on there, but go back to way before this all started last year. I think we had a conversation where I mentioned I didn't understand how we were operating at all anyway with a over $20 trillion debt at that point. Our country didn't have any money then, so.
No, your point is well taken.
This will all really turn out because it doesn't matter what human being it is, illegal, legal, whatever. They've cheated us and not taken care of our money for several administrations, and it's just sickening and saddening. I don't know what's really ever going to happen.
Well, now with the multi-trillions that are being talked about for stimulus packages and everything else, I mean, my goodness, we're so far in the hole that a rabbit couldn't dig us out. I appreciate your call. God bless you. Call more often. I always look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
God bless you, Deb.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Thank you much. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. You know, a good example of what the Democrats are doing and everything is Blaine County. You got all these people that have moved there from California just to come in casually, stay a few days, and fly off to somewhere else. Haven't they got that under control? Evidently they haven't, because there's about as many deaths there as there is in Boise.
I'm not going to sit here and condemn a portion of our state or a portion of our citizenry. I am going to say that I think there could have been more caution exercised there at the beginning, maybe to much minimize the problem that's been exacerbated and enlarged. But you know as well as I do, Keith, that this past weekend, especially on Easter weekend, with the Gestapo attitude of thou shalt not go to church or we're going to get you, this has got to stop. I mean, whether it's businesses that need to open and be in business, take precautions. There are precautions that can be met and exceeded to still stay in business. We've got to get back to work.
Well, that's true. But going back to Blaine County, I love the people who've been there for a long time. In other words, that's their home. And then you have these people like an invasion coming in there and trying to take control. You know, they're the most democratic county in Idaho.
I see your point. It's almost like looking up and seeing a whole bunch of vultures that are going to land at the airport and change your way of life. I see your point. It's very clear. Very clear.
But bless those people who were born and raised there or have lived there for a long time for the reason that they have a job there or something like that. You know, it's just a shame that these people have to suffer along with, I call them, mucky mucks.
I agree. Keith, thank you again for calling back. I always appreciate your viewpoint. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Wheels, I told you earlier this morning that I was going to do something at a certain time, and I did not. And I want to remind everybody the May 19th primary election will be conducted by absentee ballot by mail only. And right now, Wheels is going to punch a button, and we're going to tell you more.
Idaho's primary election is on Tuesday, May 19th. Here's Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke, to explain this year's voting by mail.
This year, it's going to be a little different. You will be getting an absentee ballot request form in the mail. Fill it out. Send it in. Then the county clerk will send you an absentee ballot form. This is how you vote. Fill it out. Mail it in by May 19th. If you have other questions, don't hesitate to call your county clerk's office. Paid for by Bedke for Idaho.
Very well done. Thank you, Speaker Bedke. Appreciate it. And once again, I received over the weekend the request for a ballot. It's on a very highly and brightly colored card, a postcard, if you will, if you want to call it. It's larger than a size of a postcard. And read the information on the back. It's extremely easy to understand. And you request a ballot. You wait, and then you vote and return the ballot. All of this is on the card. I urge you to save the card, put it by your phone or wherever you put your mail, and follow the instructions, and we can get through this. We can get through this voting by mail for this one time for the Idaho primary. Please, let's all work together and help to make it successful. Please. What have we got cooking for the rest of the day? Well, I'll tell you what, we've got my dear friend Rick Manning coming on at 9:06, and then Frosty Woolridge. And I know that Frosty is going to be livid when he starts talking about Ilhan Omar and the rest of that ilk. And then at 10:06, we've got a gentleman coming back again. He did a great job the last time, Ed Brodow, former United States Marine. And then at 10:30, of course, Vicky's Country Garden talking about the cold cold and the wind and everything, how it's affecting your gardening. Holy smokes, I mean, it got plumb chilly out there. All of that's coming up here this morning, along with more of your calls. I didn't make this statement. I got to get it on real quick. Don't forget the Senior Center on Overland and Burley. They have resumed their curbside meal service, but you got to call in the day before and reserve your meal to pick it up. Like today, call in for tomorrow, and they need to know how many meals to prepare. Call them at 878-8646, okay? The meals are only $5. Please help support the Senior Center on Overland. $5, 878-8646. Right now, we're going to head for the news and be back in about 7 minutes with more Zeb at the Ranch. Don't you dare go away. And a good morning to you, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they provide to you, their customers, a safe, clean environment with the best in tires and service at all 7 locations, open and serving you, along with Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you, and Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Wheels, can we have the good word for Western Waste?
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all in the Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Western Waste Services, and Deanna and I were working hard this weekend to fill up dumpster number 2. I'm committed to cleaning things up around here. I tell you what, not that it was a mess, but we just got a lot of things that over 30 years of being here, we've I'm a keeper, and now I'm not so much anymore because we're putting them all in the dumpster. Western Waste Services, call them if you need a dumpster. They'll drop it off, you fill it up, and they'll come get it. Can't beat a deal like that. 734-6969. Always at your disposal, Western Waste Services. These are hard times right now for a lot of people, and those especially that are trying to recoup from surgeries and injuries. Well, I know a business that's absolutely there serving you right this minute. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. I have nothing but the utmost respect for Nick Greenwell and all of his physical therapists that really, they've even started to go to people's homes and take care of their needs right there. They are trying to help you get back to being you. Please call them at 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191. The best serving you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Quick note, too, about our dear friends over at Hanson Mortuary, and there is nothing that is more tumultuous as far as just everything's upside down when there's the passing of a loved one in your family. You don't know what to do, what has to be done. Just stop and take a deep breath and call our friends, Joel Heward, his family, and staff at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, number 436-5636. They always take care of you and provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, always with the highest ethical standards and unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, 436-5636. At Joel Heward, also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. With these tumultuous times, you need to visit with a man weekly on this program that looks at things and kind of dissects them and kind of puts the pieces together like a big jigsaw puzzle and does a very good job of explaining. And that man is President of Americans for Limited Government, my friend to this program, Rick Manning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, Zeb, how are you doing?
We're hanging in and hanging on, but I want to start off by making a statement, and knowing you as a Christian, and I'm a Christian, proudly, I'm going to make this statement, and I want you to respond to it. I said earlier in the first hour that I will never, and I underlined with emphasis the word never, I will never be told again in my lifetime that I can't worship at a church on Easter or any other Sunday. How do you feel about that?
I agree with you. This was I can't express the how much this particular inability to do that means the freedom that seems to have been given up. And I, like everybody else, my church, we did it online and it was fine, but not being able to worship, not being able to serve over Easter is almost beyond belief. And never again. It's we have, the president knows that we have to get back to work. The president knows we have to get back to our lives. And the president is getting, on the other hand, he's got the public health people, the light lab public health people who don't live in the real world because they get paid by a lot of money by the federal government, by your taxpayer dollars, and they're just fine. They're doing just great, and here in Washington D.C. by and large, because we're a government town. But in real America, people are being deprived of their livelihoods and their lives, and it's time to end that. The president is struggling because he knows for a fact when the economy reopens, there's going to be a small spike in these cases, and there will probably be a few more people who die as a result. And he doesn't want that to happen. But on the other hand, he knows that there's a lot of people whose livelihoods are dying, whose lives are dying, and who will die as well if he keeps the country closed. And it is and he's going to have to really, he needs everybody's prayers on that. But in terms of church in specific, we will worship God, and we will be, and you don't have to be in church to worship God, but to serve Him in the way that you want to on Easter is the thing that I missed. I missed teaching the 3 Sunday school classes that I normally teach at church on Easter Sunday, and the ability to share that with little 4th and 5th grade boys who are kind of, they know they're too old for Easter baskets, but they're still excited by them. And, and being able to share the real joy of Easter with them, and when they're old enough to really understand it, I miss that tremendously. And I think those children missed it, and the parents missed it, and so we have to get back to church.
Last week, Rick, I had a chance to visit with a very good friend that his business right now is teetering on the brink of not ever opening again. And to hear the waver in his voice, and you could almost, without being in the same room, even though we were on the phone, you could see the tears in his eyes of he's had this respective business for close to 30 years, and to think that he might not be able to reopen again because of all this. And even if he does get a chance to reopen, it might not be that he has the employees, because they've all gone their separate ways now, trying to find other sources of employment. I cried with him. I cried with him because I think that if we all took precautions, kind of like what I said earlier in the first hour about going to church, there was no way that churches couldn't have been organized and made sure that when they came in the door of the chapel, they could have had masks on. They could have had alternating seats in the pews so that people weren't right on top of each other. They could have eliminated the fellowship hour. They could have eliminated a lot of things for safety and still had the church service, which we need more now than ever. That's my statement.
You're right. And
I've got on my website, dailytorch.com, I've got over 100 videos of small businesses just like your friend who are teetering on the edge. Many of these videos were taken 3 weeks ago, and some of those people are out of business as a result. And, you can put as much, government loans and things in as possible, but those are all stopgaps. But there's nothing like actually having your doors open and having revenues coming through the door through normal business. And yes, it's going to be hard to find. It may be hard to find employees because the unemployment checks are now bigger than the employee paychecks in many cases. Yep. And so people will be paid more to stay at home than they will to work. And if you're a small business has been in business for 30 years, we're talking about people's life savings are tied up in their businesses. They're not tied up in a lot of things. They're tied up in their businesses, the value of their business. And their business went from having a real value to no value in overnight. And it is that tragedy is happening all over America. We have a responsibility to get the federal government out of this. And the state governments state governors need to make a decision. I know Governor Abbott in Texas is looking at putting a path getting back to get the economy rolling again in Texas. The federal government can provide guidance. Only it's the state governments that have to provide the leadership because that's the way our federal system, our Constitution is built. And so the question is really with your governor in Idaho. When is your governor going to allow for the economy to reopen in your state? Does he have to say the same rules are for Coeur d'Alene and for Boise, depending upon what the circumstances are there? No, he can sit there and he can create hotspot zones and keep things in place in certain areas if there is a hot spot, and you can just kind of do that. It's not a governor has that absolute right in the western states. In my opinion, it would be absolute foolish not to do it. Just because New York still has a hot spot, still is struggling, doesn't mean that you need to shut Idaho down. And so, people in New York wouldn't shut New York down for Idaho. So it's because our media is concentrated in New York and D.C., we focus on the problems on the East Coast and in L.A. and San Francisco, where by the way they have virtually no problems. And so there's absolutely no reason for Idaho to be driven by events in New York City. And the governor of Idaho needs to take a look at the problems in Idaho and deal with them directly.
Let me ask you this, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, Rick. I don't want to paint you into a corner so you feel uncomfortable using perhaps speculation on your answer. But here we are, April 13th. And Donald Trump said that he's going to be making the biggest decision of his presidency. If you were to speculate right now this morning as to which way he's going to bend, which way he's going to go on the reopening, if you will, of America, what are your thoughts about the people and the president? And you're elbow to elbow with a lot of them back there. You know far more than I do. What are your thoughts as to what is going to happen prior to or on May 1st?
I think the president's going to put a pathway out, and he's going to say basically what I just said. Here are some national guidelines, and here are some suggestions on how you might be able to reopen your states or your counties. But he's going to make it a local and state decision, because the federal government has absolutely no role, except for ensuring interstate commerce. The federal government has rightfully through federalism has no role here. They need, but what they need to do, nobody can sit there and open if the federal government is saying it's unsafe. The federal government needs to set up some guidelines and give a lot of flexibility to states, to governors, and to local officials. That's what I think he will do. I think he will take a tremendous amount of grief over it because, well, these people are going to travel and it's going to be, and all that kind of stuff. But you know what? I don't really, at this juncture, and all due respect, I don't really care what Dr. Fauci says anymore. Okay? here's what he said 2 weeks ago. He said, at some point we're going to have to reopen. My job is to talk about the public health implications. It's not my job to talk about the reopening of the economy. Over the weekend, he jumped to talking about the reopening of the economy and saying that, what he would do. I don't care what he would do. What I care about is the person we actually elected going and working forward towards a pathway to opening. I think Texas is going to have a pathway starting this week. I think Oklahoma will likely do the same. So I think there'll be some other states that are going to be out front. They're going to take a lot of grief. There's no reason for Wyoming not to be open. I think they're less than, they've got minimal cases. Idaho has minimal cases. It is national suicide that we're committing. And if New York's unsafe to open, and I can fully understand that, they're having celebrating 800 deaths a day in New York, and that's a huge number. So it may be unsafe to open. But that doesn't mean that Idaho shouldn't be open, and that's what your governor, the people in your state need to talk to your governor. The federal government does not shut down the state of Idaho. Your governor does. So you have to talk to your governor and explain to your governor exactly what you talked to me about, and tell your governor it's time to open the doors. It's time to create a pathway. It can be a soft landing, but we've got to be able to get out and start doing commerce again, because otherwise the rural America will be destroyed.
Absolutely.
Rural America is the one place where we don't have any of the disease.
Absolutely.
Because in rural America, we naturally practice social distancing. We live a long way apart. Yet rural America is the part of America that's actually being destroyed through this. So rural America and Main Street. So let's get back. The governor needs to get on this, and your listeners need to call him.
I couldn't agree more, and I know that we mentioned, a caller called in, and we mentioned the governor's number, which I had the governor of Idaho on my program last week, and we discussed this very thing. But there's another side of this coronavirus nickel, and I know you've touched on it many times very eloquently. But we're talking about people that are losing their businesses. We're talking about people that are losing their life's work, their passion to succeed. We're talking about suicide rates that are skyrocketing. We're talking about depression. We're talking about breakups of families. This, too, plays a big part in why we have to get back to work.
Absolutely. The social costs, the deaths that come out of the shutdown, out of the despair, out of the drug addiction, out of the families being broken up, out of the suicides that result, out of the kids that get screwed up because they're afraid to go outside. The social costs that we're going to pay over the course of the next 20 years are real, and a lot of people are going to die as a result of this decision to shut down the country. And that's why we have to get back to work as soon as possible. This isn't about people making profits. This is about people making their livelihoods, making a living. It's about people actually not becoming so dependent upon the government that they never go back to work. And make no mistake, the reason the Democrats are so desperate to try to keep people from going back to work and so frantic on the MSNBCs and the CNNs has nothing to do with any concern about people dying. I mean, they don't care. The biggest killer in the world is abortion. They're the number one advocates of it. And taxpayers pay for it, for goodness sake, because of their insistence. But so they don't care about lives lost. They care about economic transformation. And they know if they destroy small business, they destroy Main Street, they win. Because small business is the backbone of free enterprise. It isn't big business. Big businesses doesn't care where they work. They don't care. They basically don't care about their communities in any way, shape, or form, except for as they have to. But small businesses are the heart and soul of communities. And if you kill Main Street, if you turn Main Street into a ghost town, you win the cultural revolution that they're attempting to put across, and we just have to stand up and say no.
Yeah.
And if you break the hearts of people who've owned businesses for 30, 40 years, they don't have, they're too old to start over. They've been working in this business. This is what they do. This is how they've made their living. This is their plan for the future. They're too old. They feel they're going to come out and say, wait a second, I could do this when I was 25. I can't do it when I'm 55.
That's right.
That's what they're doing. So they're effectively creating a dependency class and breaking the spirit of America, and the spirit of free enterprise, and people are going to look and say it's not worth the risk to do that, because it can all be taken away because the government decides we're going to just shut down.
Let me ask.
We have to get out of this before this becomes the norm. And those who say we want to be, this could be 12 or 18 months, I say, well, if it's going to be 12 to 18 months, we need to restart right now, because the single most important thing we have to do is get herd immunity. And you get herd immunity, rather than flattening the curve, we want to bust the curve and get everybody to have herd immunity, so we don't have to worry about this thing anymore.
Absolutely.
That's what the reality is, and it's and quite honestly, I'm not just speaking because I'm sitting in my basement, pacing around like a caged animal. I'm speaking because America needs to be America again.
Absolutely.
And hiding in our basements is not American.
Let me ask you this final thought, and I've got 2 minutes left, Rick, but no one I know is closer to politics and the twists and the turns that are taking place. How much of where we are today with the coronavirus and the absolute stoppage of our economy, are you as optimistic that Trump will be reelected in the fall, or now are the floodgates starting to have some cracks in them?
I have no idea what's going to happen in the fall. It was easy a month and a half ago. We had an unprecedented economy. There was no way that Donald Trump was not going to get elected. Today, anybody who says they know is lying, because there's not a single poll today that matters. The poll that matters is, where are we in September or October? Do we have 20% unemployment? Do we have business? Is Main Street boarded up? Are we still not able to go to? Are we not able to go to NFL games because we're all in fear of going and getting sick? I mean, if we're still dealing with this in October, people will say, "I don't want to do this anymore," and they won't care who they change to. They're just going to want to change because they're not going to like where we are.
Yeah.
And I don't know, if we don't get back to work, I think we'll have 20% unemployment in very real terms in October. And if that's the case, Donald Trump doesn't get reelected.
All I can say is I appreciate, and I underline that word appreciate, you coming on my program, because like I stated when I introduced you, you are a straight shooter. President of Americans for Limited Government, and I consider him a dear friend of this program, Rick Manning. Be safe, be well, and I'll look forward to next Monday. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ed. Hopefully we'll have good news by next Monday in terms of a plan to get out of this mess.
Amen.
Everybody.
Amen. Thank you so much. A lot of respect for that man, and for the time he takes to come on our program every week. I thank him. Rick Manning, and President for Americans for Limited Government. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Wheels, my dear friend, would you please tell everybody about voting with the ballot by mail?
Idaho's primary election is on Tuesday, May 19th. Here's Representative Fred Wood to explain this year's voting by mail.
All citizens who are registered to vote will receive postcards by mail from the Secretary of State within the next 2 weeks. Please fill out this application to request your absentee ballot, then mail. When you receive your ballot, vote and mail according to instructions prior to May 19th. Please vote absentee ballot prior to May 19, paid for Fred Wood campaign.
Thank you, Fred. And I want to reiterate there, too, that those who cannot access idahovotes.gov, you can request an application in the mail. And we'll be going over this extensively for a long time to come before May 19th, so don't forget that. Right now, I also want to remind you about Let's Ride. These folks have all the fun over there at Let's Ride. That's right, they got all the fun for sale. That's right, all the four-wheelers. And at this time of the year, let me tell you, getting away and just going on a four-wheeler, oh man, it is heaven, let me tell you. Well, they're closed on Mondays, And they want to remind you they're open Tuesdays through Fridays, 9 to 5, Saturdays, 10 to 2. And they're really promoting their service department right now to get you ready for the usage of your four-wheelers for spring and summer. And they're offering 15% off on all service work. And if you need parts or anything like that, they'll ship the parts right to you. These are great folks. They're really working through a bad situation right now with this virus and the stoppages and everything. Please get a hold of them by the telephone 436-4771. Let's ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. Well, also on Mondays, a very, very good friend of mine back in Colorado is on the program, and I'm going to ask Wheels if he's made the connection yet. Do you have Frosty on the line?
To be honest, I haven't had him call in yet, but I will call him real quick and see what the deal is.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Wheels. While you're doing that, I will tell everybody again about Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, my. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more. I don't think I've ever met anybody that's as dedicated to service as Todd and the rest of the crew over there, and we really appreciate them. The number to call, make an appointment, make sure that they work for you, and make sure you're covered, you, your family, and your business. 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Call them right now. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. And again, I'll check with my itty-bitty buddy over there at the station and see if Frosty's on the line.
I've only been getting his voicemail, sir, but I am still trying.
All right, keep going, buddy. Appreciate it. Quick reminder, again, about the senior center on Overland. Bob called me a couple of weeks ago and said, we're going to open up their curbside meal service, which means the great, great food they prepare at the senior center on Overland and Burley. You got to call the day before and order your meal. So like tomorrow you want to have meals from the senior center, you just call and then go down and pick them up, I think, between 10:30 and 11:30, and the meals are just $5. The number to call, 878-8646. That number again, 878-8646. And please, at this time, let's support our seniors. What about it, Wheels? Must be on the phone.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
I was just going to let you know he's on the phone.
All right. Thank you very much. Frosty Woldridge, Golden, Colorado. Good morning to you.
Well, then, good morning, Zeb, and to everyone, a very good morning and happy Monday, and hopefully you are all well and prospering and certainly enjoying your quiet moments here during this national lockdown. I hope you're playing a lot of checkers or chess and playing with the kids and appreciating each other. So, yes, good morning, Zeb.
Frosty, there is nobody on my program that I consider better versed at all. I mean, you're the top of the mountain when it comes to illegal aliens and immigration problems, etc. And when I read this that came across my desk this morning early at about 4 a.m., I was absolutely incensed. And I'm going to ask you about it because the Democratic Party, being led by Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Rashida Tlaib, are sponsoring the Leave No Taxpayer Behind Act. And what it is that our tax dollars will go to illegal aliens eligible for federal relief with the coronavirus pandemic going on. I can't tell you how mad I am about this.
Well, I would agree, and not only that, with the first package that came through, I think $2 trillion, Nancy Pelosi and Charles Schumer and some of the other cohorts inserted, I think, somewhere around 250 million, or it might have been 250, yeah, it was 250 million to help illegal aliens. And even Governor Cuomo of New York slipped in a package deal, I forget how many millions of dollars for illegal alien business owners there in New York City. And you should be very angry, and every person that pays taxes that's an American citizen should be extraordinarily angry, and enough to call your two senators, which I've called my two senators and my House member now probably four times just in the last 3 weeks, because what's going on in Washington is not serving you. It's not serving America. It's not serving your community. It's not serving the states. All it's serving is illegal aliens that are in violation of our laws and can be deported 24/7. And at some point, I hope that Ilhan Omar is deported back to Somalia because of her crimes, which should catch up to her at some point, because she has immigration violations that are horrendous. And I would hope at some point that Rashida Tlaib out of Detroit, who is a Palestinian, has no affinity to America whatsoever. If you listen to anything she's ever said, she actually hates America and is doing everything to undermine our Constitution. And those other two squad members, the airhead AOC, and I forget the other one, but my God, if you put their brains together, it wouldn't have enough brain power to make a helium balloon go up into the air. And yet they're in positions of power, and they're doing this underhanded kind of bill introductions into the House. And obviously and hopefully the U.S. Senate will make sure those don't happen.
Well, here's what Rashida Tlaib said, and I've got the verbiage right here in front of me, and I want to read it and then have you hold your temper like I'm having to in talking about it. Rashida Tlaib said that the federal government should issue preloaded debit cards with $2,000 for every individual in the country, even illegal aliens who have lived in the United States for as little as just a couple of months. These debit cards would be recharged with $1,000 every month for the year. I mean, this is absolutely insane. We, the taxpayers, we're having a rope put around our neck and being dragged through the mud.
Well, as a matter of fact, we're being dragged through the mud under the surface of the mud, and again, when you have these kind of literally anti-Americans in positions of power, there's no way that the framers of the Constitution ever dreamed that somebody from Somalia in the 21st century, who's broken just about every immigration law, has married her brother, has forged so many documents to violate our immigration laws, is now able to make laws in the U.S. House of Representatives. This is just beyond understanding. It's beyond any kind of comprehension. And at some point, I'm hoping that the Attorney General just comes after her and literally tosses her out of the House, but also tosses several of these people out of, well, her for sure, Ilhan Omar, tosses her back into Somalia where she belongs, because she certainly doesn't belong here.
Let me ask you this. Have you noticed, and I know you have, because you read everything and you write about everything, but have you noticed how in all the different verbiage that's put on about the illegal aliens, that term is never used anymore. Now, whether it's MSNBC, CNN, it doesn't make any difference. They're all referred to as immigrants. Immigrants. Well, they're not immigrants. They're here illegally. And even the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, listen to what she did. She signed an executive order last Tuesday that ensured that, here we go again, all immigrants and refugees living within Chicago city limits, no matter what their legal status is, are eligible to receive coronavirus benefits. This isn't right.
Again, not only is it not right, it's in violation of their oath of office. And yeah, I've actually written about that Lori. I mean, the poor lady is in over her head. She does not have the intellectual horsepower to be the mayor or anything else of the Girl Scout troop, for heaven's sakes. And yet she's up there pretending that she knows what she's doing and knows what's going on. But in fact, again, in violation of her oath of office, in violation of the U.S. Constitution, and if you all remember, just this last weekend, Chicago got to be another killing zone. There were 47 shootouts there in South Chicago, and I think it ended up with 10 deaths, 10 or 11 deaths. These people don't know how to get along with each other. And, of course, Chicago is one of the hotbeds of illegal aliens. That means people who have violated our borders. They're not immigrants. They're not law-abiding. They certainly haven't been checked for diseases. They haven't been checked or vetted for any kind of skills or ability to serve here in America. And they simply don't have any invitation by the American people to come into our country. And yet, that lady, and you can go right on down the line. Again, there are 500 cities in this country who are sanctuary cities like the Chicago situation. And I can tell you, I just talked to my brother over in Norway, and it's a mess over there. Oslo right now, somewhere close to almost 40% of immigrants from Africa and the Middle East, and he said there are car burnings every night. Nobody's car is safe because the roving gangs of Muslims are literally knifing people, extorting money off them. If they can't get money, they'll kick them half to death, or they will stab them. And he said Norway is in deep, deep trouble. Well, look at Chicago. Chicago's a killing zone. It's got all these murders going on virtually every day, and the mainstream press, MSNBC, you know, Jonathan Karl and certainly Jake Tapper and all the rest of these characters, they're not going to report that stuff. That's why you will not get the truth from the mainstream media. They cover it up, just as I said in the past, like Mark Twain said, it's called silent assertion. It's just a big lie, and it's only people like yourself or myself and all of your other guests that are actually giving you ground-level reports of what's actually going on in our country. And essentially, the lawlessness in our country, at some point, it's going to reach a tipping point, and we're all going to be engulfed in the kind of violence that's going on in Chicago and certainly in Los Angeles and New York City and certainly in Miami because in Detroit, because we didn't stop it and we overlooked it, and we elected people into office that will not enforce the laws, and we're all going to pay for that.
I have a slogan at the end of my program, and you've probably heard me say it many times, but it's coming into prominence more so, I think, today than ever before. And the slogan is, the way things were are the way things ought to be. And the reason I say that at the end of every program is I'm not nostalgic for going into the past, but I'm very nostalgic for going back and restoring some of the moral and financial principles that we had 20, 25 years ago and more. We've got away from that. And right now, this country, with this coronavirus and all the problems we have in our society with people and hatred and everything else, we are at the tipping point where this great country, the United States, could fall into the abyss forever. Do you agree?
Well, there's no question, Zeb. This is not a Norman Rockwell painting here in America anymore. And for those of you who remember, Norman Rockwell used to paint on Saturday magazine there. So every week he had a fabulous picture of just rural America and the humor of the kid sitting at the diner on a stool and getting a big ice cream cone, and the dog sitting there waiting for his little piece of the pie, and every kind of scenario that was all American. And we were, back in 1960, essentially a all pulling together the American people, and we all spoke English, and we all worked our troubles out through ethics and through laws, and knowing that it was all going to, and again, that's what the U.S. Constitution is all about. And we solved problems, whether it was racism or we solved the problems of social injustice, voter rights, all this stuff came out. Today, this is not what's happening. You've got people like Ilhan Omar. She's going to go down in history as one of the great disruptors if we don't get her out of the house, along with Rashida Tlaib. These people are not Americans. They have nothing, no affinity to America whatsoever. And so, yes, the way things were is what they ought to be today. And the only way that the U.S. Constitution can work, and I think it was John Adams, the second president, who I have a great regard for, but also for Ben Franklin, he said, this document can only work with a moral, ethical people, and it's also based essentially on Christian morality and ethics. And you lose those ethics and that morality, and I guarantee you, the way things were, they ought to be, but they're not going to be, and we're going to be ending up much like some place like Norway or even Sweden, which both those countries are in deep trouble right now because their immigration, both legal and illegal, and the massive amounts of it coming into their countries. At some point, it's going to catch up to us, too, and it's right now at the doorstep as we speak.
I said in the first hour, and then I said at the beginning of this hour with my dear friend Rick Manning back in D.C., that I will never, and I know you're a Christian, and that's why I'm mentioning it to you also, I will never be told again that I cannot worship at a church on Easter or any other religious holiday or any Sunday. I will never allow that to happen again, and I'm sorry that we allowed it to happen this time. How would you respond to that?
Well, it's very difficult at this point in time. I go to church every Sunday, and for the last 3 Sundays now, we've had a virtual Sunday. We get to have church. Reverend Josh Reeves actually gave a tremendous sermon yesterday for Sunday for Easter, and we watched it on television. Our church has 1,500 seats, and everything was empty, and only the preachers were. And one of the Michelle Madrano was there, and she's a fabulous preacher. And that's how we saw church. There's no question this COVID-19 thing is nothing to fool with. It's killed over 20,000 now, and it's growing. And in my latest column, A National Moment to Pause in Our Journey, is newswithviews.com this morning. Sandy and I stay at home. We respect the medical profession's understanding of masks and social distancing of not just 10 feet anymore, I think it's 13 feet. And literally keeping away from big crowds. So that's how we're handling it, and that's how we handled church this last Sunday.
No, I understand that, Frosty, but I said, and I'll still maintain, and I won't back up for anybody, that churches could have maintained a mask only in the chapel. They could have maintained no fellowship greetings. They could have maintained a seat chart within the chapel to keep people at a safe distance, and they could have had their church services, and I honestly feel it could have happened.
Well, there's no question you could have done it with the protocols that are being created to deal with this particular COVID-19 virus. And again, each person has to look into their own heart and make their choices. And the key is they need to have those choices because this is America, and the U.S. Constitution, number one, is our foundation for freedom of choice in this country.
We have a caller with a quick question. I'm almost out of time. Caller, quickly, please. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes. Yet from World War II, the Germans had planned on flooding England's economy with counterfeit money to destroy their economy. Could it happen here?
That's a good point. Frosty, respond to the caller, please.
Well, each and every one of you listening to, Zeb Bell's program each week, you know that I do my research. And everything I talk about, I do my research so I at least know what I'm talking about and or can point you to the places where you can find out for yourself. And DV Kid, go to newswithviews.com this today. And D.V. Kidd, I have a tremendous amount of respect for her, and she wrote, COVID-19 could, maybe, possibly, might worthless models, greed. She's right on the top there. She's the redhead. And she said without a doubt that the Chinese Communist Party weaponized and created this virus and deliberately released it in order to cripple the U.S. economy. And she's done it, and I've just read it. I would highly recommend it. In fact, Zeb, I would recommend you read it because this lady is one of the sharpest women I've ever seen. She's a top-notch journalist. Her husband was a former Air Force colonel. She's no nonsense. She does tremendous research. And today, April 13th, just COVID-19, she's on the top there of the newswithviews.com. And it'll give you a great understanding. There are some really evil people out there. And I guarantee you this, China is not our friend whatsoever.
No, I totally agree with that. And please keep your remark fairly short, Frosty. I'm almost out of time, but there's got to be some kind of a payback to China. There's got to be some kind of a retribution against them for what they have done and how sloppily they've handled this problem or not handled this problem. And for them to turn around and tell us, hey, better back off, Jack, because we manufacture all your medicine and everything, that's almost a veiled threat that I think, oh, look out, boy, it's time to tear the door down and go after them. I'm fed up with China and their government, if you want to call it that.
Well, and the great tragedy for me as an American citizen is the fact that our House and our Senate right there in Washington, D.C., kept stripping America's ability to manufacture goods and drugs and you name it. We didn't need to just give it all away to the communist Chinese, and that's what we did. And that's all on our last 5 presidents and all of the Senates and the House members who voted to simply give America's manufacturing foundation away. And so it's on our leaders and our elected representatives to let China get away with what they gotten away with.
Absolutely. Frosty, I wish we had more time, but I urge, and I always look forward to your weekly writing and, of course, some of the pictures and everything that you send to us. God bless you and your lovely wife. I hope you stay well and healthy, and thank you for being on the program, and we'll talk to you next Monday. Thank you so much, Frosty Woolridge.
Thank you, Zeb, and God bless everyone, and stay safe and do that social distancing. That's one thing that's very good to keep you and your family healthy. Thank you.
All right. God bless you, man. Thanks. A dear friend, Golden, Colorado, Frosty Woolridge. Appreciate him being on the program this morning. Right now, I'd better get the weather on. And the weather, you know what? That was a transition the last couple of days. We were sitting outside the other day in 73, 74, 75 degree weather and loving it. Saddled up the old horse and did quite a bit of work with him. And man, worked up a pretty good sweat for him and the old fat cowboy up on top. And then it turns out to where it's snowing a little bit here yesterday morning. My goodness sakes. All that being said, the weather forecast is being brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And they've provided accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. These people are good. And they care. Now, I know our accountant over there, Leiden Crane, has done yeoman's job of helping us, and they will help you the same way. With the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, retirement planning, business consulting, all of this and more. With offices in Burley and Rupert, remember the professionals. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Much cooler temperatures for today and maybe some precipitation later on this week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies for today. A slight breeze out of the east-northeast, about 5 miles an hour. We're only expecting a high of 44. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies. Hopefully you did not plant any of your vegetables because we are expecting a low right around 23. For tomorrow, looks like sunny skies, high of 52. Winds are going to be picking up and gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 37. By Wednesday, we do have a slight chance of rain and or possible snow showers up in the higher elevations. Partly sunny skies with a high of 58. And then for Wednesday night, chance of rain before midnight, chance of snow after midnight, and we are expecting a low right around 31. That's Look at Your Weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
She does a great job. Gina, thank you so much for all your help on our weather forecast. And don't forget the pros, the professionals, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert, helping you, your family, and your business as they have for well over 50 years. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Let's see what else have we got cooking here. We're going to have Ed Brodow on. I always want to say Brodow or Brodow. I'm going to ask him again. I messed up his name the last time. United States Marine Corps retired, and he's the author of a new book called Trump's Turn, Winning the New Civil War. I can't wait to see what he had written in the book as compared to what it's changed to be today. We're going to talk to him at 10:06. And then at 10:30 this morning, let's get away from everything and just go out to the garden, shall we? And talk about gardening and lawn care and everything else with Vicki at Vicki's Country Gardens at 10:30 this morning. Quick note. Now, I've been telling you this morning we started the promotion on my program about the balloting that's going to take place for the May 19th primary. The May 19th primary election will be conducted by absentee ballot only through the mails. Remember that. And I got my card. It came in the mail Saturday morning. Don't throw it away. Don't throw it away. It kind of looks like those advertisement cards for Nutrisystems. Throw that away, but don't throw this one away, because it gives you all the information about requesting a ballot and what to do, how to vote, how to return it. It's all on that card. So be sure and get your ballot. Vote and be ready for May 19th primary election, okay? All the information is right there on that card. And we're going to continually, every day on this program, tell you how to take care of it. And for those that cannot access the idahovotes.gov, you'll be sent an application in the mail for your ballot. Don't worry about that. Right now, we're going to leave it over to Wheels. He's going to come in, and we'll be back in about, 7 minutes or so with more Zeb at the Ranch. And a good morning to you. Zeb at the Ranch, hour number 3, and thank you for leaving the dial right there. Our major sponsor, of course, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. They're all open. They're all serving you with a very safe, clean environment and the best in tires and service. Stop in and see them today. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Don't forget, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, our friends, and they really are our friends, at Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Oh, my goodness sakes, let me tell you, the great folks over there, Kelly and Matt Wiggins, they urge you, seniors, listen to me now. We're going to all get through with this coronavirus before too long, and I urge you to call them at 650-4979 and check out this beautiful 12-bedroom home for senior living. It's located just 1 mile east of Walmart, and they provide 3 meals a day, plus snacks, housekeeping, all of this and more. Wonderful people at Greystone Crossing. 650-4979. That number again, 650-4979. Greystone Crossing Senior Living, where seniors live the good life with friends. Want to also remind you, if I can, quickly about our friends at 7K Metals, and I want to urge you to give them a call, and you can do that real safe and sane right now. Call Lon Hardy and Sharon Wilmot. Lon Hardy's number, 312-8699. Sharon Wilmot at 430-3259, and talk to them about 7K Metals and silver purchases sent right to you. Absolutely. You can help build your financial future and security with 7K Metals. It's a great saving opportunity for you and a valued treasure for your loved ones in the future. Once again, tell them I told you to call Lon Hardy and Sharon Wilmot at 7K Metals. You be sure and do that today. Wheels, could we please have the good word for the May 19th primary voting?
Idaho's primary election is on Tuesday, May 19th. Here's Senator Kelly Anthon to explain this year's voting by mail.
The outcome of every election we have is determined by who shows up to vote. This year, Idaho's primary election is a mail-in only election. It's not ideal, and it's not the way we'd like to do it. But your vote does make a difference for all of us in Idaho. So please, first request a ballot, then mail it in, and make your voice heard. This message is paid for by the Anthem for Idaho Senate campaign.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Appreciate it. And right now we're going to go to our guest for this half hour. I've had this man on before. Excuse me for having a little frog in my throat. And I'm looking forward to having him back with his book called Trump's Turn, Winning the New Civil War. And I'm always a little hesitant to say his last name so I don't mispronounce it, but I'm going to say United States Marine Corps retired Ed Brodo. How are you?
I'm fine, and that's exactly how we pronounce it.
Well, now put a star on the wall with my name next to it, Ed. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Hey, I understand there's so much that you've done in your life like I've done in my life. I mean, we've got quite a few varied interests, but I didn't know that you were also in the movie business, as I have been in the past. And share with us a little bit about your movie career before we start talking about your book and Trump and the coronavirus.
Yeah, well, I was a sales manager in the computer industry, and I just got tired of it. So I was in New York. I went over to Lee Strasberg's in Greenwich Village and started studying acting. And the next thing I knew, I was doing the lead in a movie in South America. So I did that for 12 years, New York and Los Angeles, movies, television, stage. It was a very exciting period of my life.
Well, you know, and it's a different kind of a business. We could spend hours talking about it, and people think it's all glamorous and it's all fun and frivolity, but boy, it can get really kind of depressing and long days, and you sit there and twiddle your thumbs. You know that's true, isn't it?
Well, it's a very tough business.
Yep.
Very tough. It's very insecure. Actors are out of work more than they're working. And actors are always afraid that they'll never get another job again.
Yeah.
Because it's so difficult.
Ed, bring us up to speed. When you wrote this book, Trump's Turn, Winning the New Civil War, and the completion of this book as to where we are now, I'll bet you that with the transitions that we've seen in American society, and for that matter the world, you could be ready to start a brand new book right now with a follow-up, couldn't you?
Yeah, well, you know, things are always changing. Certain themes stay the same, though. One of the themes that's the same is that we have this basic dichotomy, the Civil War, between conservatives and liberals. And that's been pretty constant for the last 20 years or so.
Let me ask you, Ed, with your studies and research as to where we are on this coronavirus and how it was brought forth into society, how it's been devastating to all the countries around the world, you know, it's just too much of a coincidence for me to bite into this piece of pie and say that a lot of this isn't being permeated by the left as a part to hurt Donald Trump, the election, and conservatism in general. Do you believe that or not?
Yeah, well, I don't think that, you know, they set out to manufacture this in order to hurt Donald Trump, but I think they took advantage of the opportunity.
Yes.
I mean, as soon as I first heard about the virus, I said to myself, they're going to blame Trump. I just read that Barbara Streisand has just come out and she blames Trump for the whole virus. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just totally ridiculous. And it's political. Totally political.
Where do these people like Barbara Streisand and so many others, where do they come up with this vein of thought? I mean, don't they realize that the American public in general is going to look through their facade, their Western false front building, and really realize how dumb they really are?
No, they don't. I'm sure Barbara Streisand thinks that she's a genius, a political genius. They don't have a clue. And the reason, and I talk about this in my book, one of the reasons is that the leftist ideology has become like a religion. And when you have a religion, it's like Islam. You're not allowed to criticize Islam. Well, you're not allowed to criticize the liberal point of view. If you're a liberal and people attack you, They accuse you of being a racist. They accuse you of being homophobic, all kinds of ridiculous things, because they cannot accept that they lost the election. They're still fighting the 2016 election. They still think Hillary should have won.
Ed, looking ahead to this next election in November, and about 6 weeks ago, I sat here on this radio program and absolutely said it would be a slam dunk for President Trump to be reelected. And then all heck broke loose, and the dam started leaking with the coronavirus and continually has gotten worse. I'm not so sure right now that common sense is going to prevail in this November's election. What are your thoughts?
I think it will. I think the majority, from what we see, the majority of the American public approves of the way that the president has handled this virus. You combine that with the fact that we had, prior to the virus, Trump's policies were working. The economy was, really fired up. And I think it will be again as soon as we stop this lockdown business. But the other thing is, look at who the Democrats are presenting to us as candidates. I think people are starting to just not to take the Democrats seriously anymore. How can you take someone like Joe Biden seriously as a candidate? How can you take someone like Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren? You can't take these people seriously. So I think the Democratic Party has shot itself in the foot.
Let me ask you if there's a possibility, Ed, that the Democrats may not have their summer convention. Do you think that as basically a kind of a media turmoil that they want to stir up and really get more people listening to them, that there may be an overthrow of Biden and maybe an insertion of Andrew Cuomo or even Michelle Obama?
Well, definitely. I've been predicting that all along. My original prediction was that they were trying to put Bloomberg in there. But Bloomberg was such a lousy candidate, they have to find somebody else. And the common wisdom right now suggests that it would be either Cuomo or Hillary Clinton. It might be somebody else. I don't think the Democratic National Committee wants to put Biden in there. It's just too embarrassing.
With what's going on, Ed, with this coronavirus, and I think it's been, quite frankly, overdone. I think it's time to go back to work. I think we all need to exercise extreme amounts of caution and respect for our fellow human beings to not infect them and stay the social distancing, etc. But we've got to get back to work. What are your thoughts about where we are as a country right now this morning?
All right, I think there are 2 points of view. My point of view is that this sheltering at home is overkill. That we've had viruses constantly over the years. Each virus, has killed a lot of people, but we didn't shut down the U.S. economy in order to deal with it, and I don't think we need to do it with this one. The other point of view, I have a friend who argues with me about this. He says that the coronavirus is unique because it's much more dangerous, that it's much easier to transmit this virus than the common flu. And because of that, we need to, take extreme measures. I don't happen to agree with that. I think that the statistics have been overblown and exaggerated, and I think that this is all an overreaction.
Ed, when you think about it, and I know you have as a writer and a person that likes to study things and see what's really going on out in the world, have you ever tried to equate, I did this weekend, I'm going to take the blame for this thought, so you can blame me, but I got to thinking about the Legionnaire's disease. I got to thinking about the hotel rooms in Chicago where people were dying. I got to thinking about the cruise ship sicknesses, and then the equation of tying this all together with the coronavirus. Do you think I'm wrong in trying to put all three of those, or maybe even SARS and others, into the same equation?
No, I don't. That's what I just said. I think that we've experienced viral epidemics constantly. The statistics for the last 10 years, in each year we have had between 12,000 and 80,000 deaths. I mean, I just read a statistic that last winter there were 80,000 deaths due to the seasonal virus, not COVID-19. So it's nothing new. It's something that we have to deal with. But I think that there's panic has set in. And I think the media is largely responsible for it. People are just experiencing hysteria over this thing when it's nothing new, really. I mean, it's certainly not pleasant, but you can't shut the whole country down every time there's an epidemic.
You know, you've touched on this already, but I want you to elaborate on it a little bit. I'm really, really concerned that the left, and I'm going to just point my finger at them and say, yes, you are guilty of using and politicizing this event, the coronavirus, to take away our free speech, take away our freedoms, take away a lot of our constitutional rights, and change forever America. Do you agree or disagree with me?
I agree. I'm very, very nervous about this. Personally, I mean, as a citizen, I resent it tremendously that the government would try to tell me that I can't go out of my house. I mean, this is absurd. And if we grant these kind of powers to the government, you know, once they have this kind of power, they don't give it up. So it's a very dangerous thing that's happening right now. And I think that we need to spend more time focusing on protection of our individual rights as citizens.
Absolutely. You know, you had a category of information on the sheet that was given to me about your book, Trump's Turn, and it was the leftist brainwashing of our college students. I read that and I thought, oh, how true, and I want you to elaborate on that because I would venture to say, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, that over 85 to 88% of the college students in this country today have absolutely been brought through a education that says America's bad and everything conservatives try to do is going to hurt you. What are your thoughts? Do you think I'm off on that?
No, I've written extensively about that in my last 3 books. This is something that's been going on for a while now that the general public has not been aware of, that the left has taken over academia, they've taken over our colleges and universities, they've taken over Hollywood, they've taken over the media, and now they're in the process of taking over Silicon Valley. And what's happening with students is really it's a terrible thing. When I was in college, we wanted to learn more. We wanted to learn both sides of a story. Now the students are only given one side of the story because their professors, you know, like 95% of their professors are liberals. You try to get a job at Harvard today if you're a conservative, forget it. So these kids are coming out of college with only one point of view. And what they're told is that not only is socialism acceptable, but that it's desirable, which is really an insane thing to teach these kids when you look at the reality of it.
When you look at the situation that we're in right now, and I'm sure the numbers changed even since I went on the air earlier this morning, but we're looking at almost 18 million people unemployed, and what that's going to do as far as unemployment checks and the cost of living and everything going skyrocketing. Can we get back from this if all of a sudden President Trump says May 1st everybody's going to go back to work, we're going to open up our country again? I maintain that we can't resort to a sense of normalcy until at least the beginning of 2021.
Well, you may be right about that. I mean, I think that's the $64,000 question, is how long will it take the country to get back to normal? And I don't know, it's all, you know, we can speculate about that. I certainly think that there's going to be a period of adjustment. How long it will be, I don't want to say, but there will be a, you know, it's not going to just snap back on day one. Too much has happened. Too many people are out of work. I'm concerned about a lot of businesses that will not be able to come back after this, especially restaurants. I think the restaurant business is in dire shape. The airlines, people are afraid to travel. So I think we're going to experience a long period of readjustment.
One last question. I meant to ask this a moment ago, Ed, and with your expertise and experience, why? Simple question. Why is Hollywood so bent on socialism and socialistic values when, in essence, if they were applied, they wouldn't be stars. There wouldn't be movies. There wouldn't be the great luxurious lifestyles. Why is Hollywood such in favor of socialism over capitalism?
Well, it's ironic, isn't it, that someone like a movie star who's a multimillionaire would be in favor of socialism. There are several reasons. One is that they don't understand what socialism is. That's number one. The second is that even these stars who are wealthy are insecure, and they know that if they don't adhere to the leftist ideology, that they may not get another job. So they're worried about it. They're also very narcissistic, and they tend to think that the whole world revolves around them, and they want to show how compassionate they are. So they try to they show that they are interested in helping everybody and helping the downtrodden. This is a fallacy that they've got. And the final observation that I would make from my own experience is that a lot of actors, and I'm not saying all actors, but a lot of actors are just plain dumb. Now, there's some very brilliant actors out there, but there are a lot of, the business tends to attract people who are not, shall we say, intellectually on the cutting edge. And they tend to fall for this, the leftist ideology that has spread throughout Hollywood. The left has gone to great lengths to infiltrate Hollywood. So that's the problem. I think we just have to start ignoring these people and send them the message that we don't really give a damn what people like Barbara Streisand think.
You know, you made me chuckle, and I couldn't quit chuckling for a few moments because it's so true that a lot of these people, and I can think of many names, barely got through high school, and then all of a sudden, because they could listen to where to walk, what to say, what mark to hit, etc., they become stars, and then their brain power goes up to where they're well over 150 IQ. It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it?
It's totally ridiculous. But that, again, is the narcissism that I was talking about. You know, they think that Hollywood is everything. I remember when I was in Hollywood, we thought that the whole world revolved around Hollywood, and that things that were not going on in Hollywood were not important, which is crazy, totally crazy. But that's how they look at things. Very, very myopic vision that they have.
Absolutely. Tell us about the book. From the time people start reading the book till the end when they close the back cover, Trump's Turn, Winning the New Civil War. What do you want them to take away from the book?
I want them to understand that the left is trying to destroy this country. That's what I want them to understand. How the deep state and the Democratic Party are actively working to eliminate, to destroy all of the values that we consider American values, such as free speech. They want to destroy free speech. They want to destroy private property. They want to end the meritocracy in favor of affirmative action. They want to destroy the idea that you have to take responsibility for your own behavior. People need to realize how insidious this war is and why it's so important that we reelect Trump and give Trump another 4 years to undo what Obama did in 8 years.
Great gentleman and a great book. I've got to get a copy. Trump's Turn, Winning the New Civil War. Ed Brodo, thank you so much. You're a blessing and a refreshing breath of fresh air on our program every time you're here. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you much. Ed Brodo with a book called Trump's Turn, and I've got to get a copy of that book and read it from its cover to cover and then share it with you and have him back on the air again. Thank you. Right now, I also want to urge you to remember our folks and our friends at Patterson's Electronics. Oh, my goodness, they've got all your electronics needs. Now, I could sit here and I could go down through the list of everything they've got. But I don't understand all the different products that they've got. I mean, they've got everything for all you electronics gurus out there. Yes, they do at 421 East Main in Burley. The number to call, 678-6997. Curtis and Lorena serving you at Patterson's Electronics. And they're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. I mean, they've got everything, including all the home theater systems, video surveillance cameras, car stereos and speakers, all the complete sound systems, all your TVs from Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs. Woo-hoo, my goodness sakes. Talk to the professionals at Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley, 678-6997. In just a moment, I'm going to send this over to Wheels, and I want to remind you that at 10:32 in that neck of the woods, we're going to have the lovely Miss Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens on our program for our second segment of getting ready for all the planting of the gardens and taking care of your lawns and your shrubs and everything. And with this weather kind of transitioning from where it was really starting to look pretty doggone nice out there, to where it got ugly, we're going to find out what kind of damage that's done and what kind of damage it might do to crops and plants that you've already planted. So that's coming up in just a few minutes. Right now, we're going to send it over to Wheels, and we'll be back with Vicky's Country Garden.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you. Hey, before we go to our next guest in our segment, I want to remind you, too, about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Folks, I cannot stress enough that we need to keep doing business with our businesses. Plain and simple. Now, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, all you need to do is call to make an appointment for the furniture, the carpeting, whatever you need to come down to the store, and they will help you. The number, 878-2341. I'll repeat that number, 878-2341. And believe me, Jeff and the crew, they are bending over backwards trying to serve everybody. They've got all those medical lift chairs, and they're still having like 40 to 50% off furniture and mattresses. They want to serve you all you need to do, and don't please stop doing business with them. Now's the time to do business with them. Call for an appointment at 878-2341. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Wow, it's Monday, and it's springtime. My goodness, we went from 75 degrees to where Grandpa got the red long underwear back out again. I did. And we're going to talk more about the change and transition in the temperatures with Vicky at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Hello, Miss Vicky.
Good morning, Zeb. Hope the Easter Bunny found you.
I'm telling you what, I don't eat candy or anything like that, and I've been on a diet. Really, I have. And do you know how much I've lost since Christmas time?
How much?
21 pounds.
Well, I want you to don't feel bad because I think I probably found it.
Oh, okay. Well, don't send it back.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's awesome.
I got to ask you the question I think of the day is, with a transition of seeing temperatures and Wheels, we got a little feedback here this morning, of seeing temperatures get up into the 70s and then all of a sudden jump off the diving board into a pool of chilly, cold, frozen water. What's that going to do to the plants that are already planted out there?
Well, your trees and shrubs and stuff, it's not going to be a problem. But the problem happens is it gets everybody thinking that they can get their gardens all in. They're wanting to put in tomatoes and stuff like that. And I keep telling people it is way too early. And the problem with that temperature change like that is the ground temperature warms a little bit with those 70-degree temperatures. But then it drops just as fast when it drops down. You know, when you're at 35 degrees at night, and it drops to 24 degrees at night, it brings those ground temperatures right back down again. And ground temperature in gardening is a very crucial, just like in farming, it's a very crucial thing. And if you've got sensitive plants at all in seed, it's not as big a problem, but like tomatoes, peppers, and that, I mean, they're done. They're gone.
Oh, my.
So that's why I'm telling people, don't get excited about getting this stuff in. There's not going to be any shortages. We've got plenty. And give that time, give this ground. I know everybody's antsy. They've been caged up, and they get a few nice days. And let's get the garden going. We're going to get it in early this year. Well, sometimes early is just not always the best policy. Get everything ready so that when it does warm up for good, and it's going to stay that way, and the ground temperature comes up, then you're ready to roll.
Let me ask you this, Vicki, with all the coronavirus and all the worries and everything else, are you seeing a big increase in people that want to plant gardens?
Yes, we are. We're seeing a big increase.
Okay, now, are a lot of these people first-timers?
A lot of people are first-timers, yes. We're getting a lot of people in that are first-timers.
Okay. What do you tell people, especially with the fluctuations in the climate, with the temperature going up and going down and possibility of snow and everything? Is there some kind of information that all these first-time gardeners can get or read about or study? I mean, what do you tell them?
Well, basically, in my book, it comes down to a little bit of common sense.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, you have to look at the fact that, you plants that are already growing, like I say, tomatoes and peppers and things of that nature, if it freezes, they're going to freeze. And so you have to either be prepared to have some very good cover for them, but at the same time, I just tell people it's way too early. Get the seeds that can go in the ground are your cold crops. Your peas, radishes, onions, those kind of things. The plants that can grow in the ground are your cold crops again, like cabbage, the onion starts, things of that nature. Strawberries, berries, those kind of things can all go in now. But your more temperamental type stuff, just hold on and just give it time to where this thing levels out. Hopefully we'll start getting some normal temperatures, but just 2 or 3 days of warm weather does not make it to where everything can be planted at this time. It's just way too early on most stuff.
Okay. A lady had called in on my cell phone last week after the program, and she said, I don't know the first thing about gardening. I'm from Pennsylvania, lived in a big city, and I'm out here now, and I don't even know what kind of tools I need for a garden. Maybe you could lay that out for us this morning.
Well, for a garden, you want to find a spot that's got, good soil. If you're taking grass out of an area, to put a garden in, you don't want to just rototill it up because then you've got grass clumps and you've got grass roots and the whole bit. So it's best to take like a sod cutter or something, cut the sod, kill the grass in the area that you're wanting to put the garden in, then take a sod cutter and cut it out of there, then till your garden and get it ready. As far as tools, you're going to need some type of a little rototiller or have someone come in and rototill it. And then after that, it's basically rake, just a good garden, a hard-tooth garden rake to rake it down, and a good hoe to make your rows and to keep your weeds down.
Okay. Now, you mentioned about killing the grass. Now, I all of a sudden, my eyebrows went up, and I thought, whoa, wait a minute. If you kill the grass, are you going to hurt the soil for the possibility of planting corn and peas and everything in the garden?
No. Roundup does not hurt the soil at all.
I see. Okay.
Roundup, actually, the minute it touches dirt, it totally goes neutral. It deactivates completely. There's nothing. It don't work on nothing once it touches dirt. That's why I tell people, don't spray Roundup on your garden before the weeds come up because you're wasting your time and your Roundup. It has to touch green foliage in order for it to kill anything.
Okay. Now, what about flowers? This time of the year with flowers that are possibly coming up, I know Deanne's got some up. Boy, the cold temperatures and the wind. What about the wind destroying everything?
The wind is our biggest problem in this area. It damages more things like the tulips and the daffodils and that are up and looking so pretty right now. The wind just beats the daylights out of them. It actually does more damage than the cold weather does.
Really?
Flowers and that. Pansies are, if you want to bounce a color right now, come in and get some pansies. They'll give you more color than anything, and they can handle the wind and they can handle the cold. They're really tough little flowers, and they really do like this time of year, this kind of weather.
So pansies really aren't pansies.
No, I don't know who named them, but whoever it was wasn't thinking very straight. So
another question.
One of the toughest little flowers. They'll bloom in the snow.
Oh my goodness!
They are tough. It's got to get to 0 or below before it'll kill pansies.
Oh my goodness sakes, they are tough. Well, why don't we call them John Wayne's?
We should. They should be. Yeah, they should be John Wayne's little buddy or something. I don't know, but yeah, they are. And right now they're blooming so pretty.
Well,
so if you're wanting that little bounce of color and you got spring fever really bad, come in, either do some planters with the pansies or put some in the ground. They really do like this type of weather.
You know, I don't mean to spread things out from the garden to the flowers, but I also want to ask you real quick about lawn care. Going into the spring, after the winter, what do you have to do to make sure that your lawn is going to be looking good and vibrant come warmer days ahead?
Well, most everybody's mowing right now and trying to pull a bunch of that dead grass up. Some people even, you don't want to do it too often, but they'll thatch their lawn if they've got a lot of the dead grass down in there, Sometimes they'll come through and do a light thatching, which it goes down. It's a deal that goes down through and pulls out a lot of the dead grass that's left from mowing and that type of thing. But you can do the same thing with a hard-toothed rake. Just rake it good and pull some of that up out of there. Kind of aerate your lawn, give it a little breath. And this is a good time to get your fertilizers down, your pre-emergence down to stop those weeds from coming up.
Okay. And what about the care of fruit trees at this particular time?
Most of our fruit trees have not budded out so far that you couldn't still dormant oil them. You just want to check the budding on them. If the buds are starting to open, then don't spray them.
Okay.
But if the buds are still real tight, you can use the dormant oil, which helps get rid of any fungus or any bug eggs that were left over from the fall. But as soon as the buds start to open, you do not touch it with nothing. You do not spray with anything during the flowering time if you're wanting fruit. If you don't want fruit, you don't want flowers, then you can spray. But if you've got a fruit tree that you're planning on, that you want the fruit off of, do not spray after the leaves open and the flowers come on. Wait till everything is done flowering completely, and then you see the little, hopefully you'll, if we don't get any more of these dumb frosts at the wrong time, you'll see the little fruit setting on. Then start your regimen with your insecticides.
Okay. Deanne handed me a note after she had talked to you, and I was on the air, and it said something about chicken soup. Chicken soup? What are you talking about, chicken soup?
That is a product. It is awesome. It is an organic, which everybody will like. It has a lot of molasses in it. It has a very light fertilizer in it. It has a lot of natural organic stuff in it. It can take, once you get plants, you get your garden up and going, and when you're putting tomatoes in and things of that nature, if you mix this up and put it in at transplant time on tomatoes, you're going to see those tomatoes not even slow down. They'll just keep right on going. I tried it myself, and I was totally amazed at how it turned an old zucchini. I had a little zucchini plant that was about half dead, and I just stuck it in some dirt out here to see, and I poured that stuff on it, and within about 4 days, I had 4 of the biggest leaves I've ever seen, and I was totally shocked.
Oh, my goodness.
It gives them energy. It gives them a purpose to live. After they've been beat to death with the wind and after they've been froze to death from the cold, then give them a shot of this, and they decide maybe they can live. It's kind of like a sugar high for them. But it is something you can use on all your vegetables. You can use it on flowers, trees, whatever. But it works awesome on vegetable plants.
Okay, you've got all the seed they need, all the gardening plants. You got the flowers, I'm sure. And what about with the coronavirus? Any restrictions on the amount of people in the store, or if they order over the phone? Tell us all about that.
Well, we will take orders over the phone. That's not a problem if you're leery to come in or whatever. We don't normally have a big surge of people in, like around Mother's Day and that. Right now, usually it's 2 or 3 people in the store at the same, at a time, and most everybody will kind of stay outside and wait until those people are done, So we kind of try to regulate that. In the greenhouses, you've got enough open air space that, I mean, as long as you practice the safety situation, stay 6 feet away and this and that and the other, you're perfectly safe in the greenhouses also. You just have to kind of monitor yourself a little bit.
Okay. And what are your hours over at Vicky's Country Garden?
Well, right now we are open 9 till about 5:30 on Monday through Friday, and 10 to 3 on Saturdays, but we probably... just check with us. I mean, if we're still here, we're here, but I mean, we'll probably be lengthening those Saturday hours to 5 within a week or so.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks, this is the lady, Vicky, at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. And what are the numbers, the best numbers to call and get information?
They can call the store here at 208-438-5663. And, or if you get an answering machine or whatever, they can call me on my cell phone at 208-431-5667.
I still think that bronze out in front of your business with the mare and the colt would look better over here.
You think so?
I'd love to have it. I tell you what, they are beautiful. Listen, Vicky, I always look forward to Monday, and I'll tell you this, God bless you, be safe, be well, and we'll talk to you next Monday at 10:30.
All righty, Zeb, and you be safe also.
All right, God bless you. The lovely lady, and she's a very good friend of ours, Vicky at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. We really appreciate everything she does to help you and your gardening. Thank you. Holy moly, we got to get to the weather forecast. I'd really enjoy some phone calls after the weather. I haven't had a chance to visit with a lot of people here this morning yet, except for the first hour. So our weather is brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Hello, Don Scarrow and the crew. Oh, my goodness sakes, the very best of meats for any and all occasions. They are open, and it's time to fill up your freezers. Absolutely. Number to call, 324-7657, or go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. I mean, we're talking marinated pork ribs, we're talking tri-tips, we're talking hams, we're talking everything delicious from Scarrow's Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Much cooler temperatures for today and maybe some precipitation later on this week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies for today. A slight breeze out of the east-northeast, about 5 miles an hour. We're only expecting a high of 44. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies. Hopefully you did not plant any of your vegetables because we are expecting a low right around 23. For tomorrow, looks like sunny skies, high of 52. Winds are going to be picking up and gusts as high as 30 miles an hour. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy skies with a low of 37. By Wednesday, we do have a slight chance of rain and or possible snow showers up in the higher elevations. Partly sunny skies with a high of 58. And then for Wednesday night, chance of rain before midnight, chance of snow after midnight, and we are expecting a low right around 31. That's Look at Your Weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I don't want the snow. Thank you, Gina. Thank you very much. Weather forecast brought to you by our friends, and they are our friends. Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Scarrow's Meats. All right, callers, come on, give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. We will talk about anything that you want to visit about. What was Easter like for you? It just didn't have the flair or the flavor for Deanne and I. I mean, I absolutely, and I don't care if somebody's offended by this or not, I absolutely miss going to church on Easter. We go to church every other Sunday, but Easter has a special flair and taste for the whole family. And then we get together and have a big brunch, and I missed all that. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
What was the magic potion Vicki talked about to help windburned plants?
She calls it chicken soup.
Okay.
I am not kidding. When I was handed that note, I was on the air, and I looked at that, and I was doing a commercial for another business, and Deanne was giving me some of the previews that Vicki wanted to talk about today, and it said chicken soup with a question mark next to it. So here's my suggestion, lady. For Pete's sakes, call her.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. God bless. Have a good day. Thank you. I don't know. It says chicken soup. And she said it works. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There's a lot of things that I wish and pray would come back to normalcy. And the being basically locked up as a prisoner in your own home. I mean, the other day, Deanne and I said, enough. And we did take the precautions. You know, we took the masks and made sure that we stayed with the social distancing and everything. But we had to go to the grocery store, had to go to the pharmacy. And it's eerie. Really eerie with all the people wearing the mask. Now, earlier we had a call, and they said very few people were wearing masks at a certain location. Well, we found just the opposite. Where we were, most of the people, I'd say almost 90% that I ran into, were putting masks on their face before they went into the store. What are your thoughts? Quickly give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle. One thing that I want to say before we leave here today, excuse me, is that any and all of the businesses that are still doing business and their doors are open, or they have to where they can serve you, make the deliveries, or in the case of one commercial that I just did a minute ago, call them and they'll make allowances to have you into the store. I'm urging you. I absolutely am urging each and every one of you to support these businesses. We cannot sit back and let any business fail. I don't care what size business, what the business is, we can't afford to let them fail in our communities. And if there's any way we can keep supporting them and doing business with them, please do it. I urge you to do that, please. I want to remind you, too, about the ballots. I know we're going to be getting a lot of questions on this. I know that people are going to be confused. But we're going to keep hammering at this every single day that I'm on the air. You will be, if you haven't already, receiving a cardboard postcard. It's probably about, 10 by 7 postcard. And it says, IdahoVotes.gov, request your ballot, protect yourself, protect your neighbors. Okay? On the flip side of that, it gives you all the information about how to get a ballot for the May 19th primary election that is going to be conducted by absentee ballot only. Kelly said it the best. Kelly Anthon. We don't like this, but we're going to have to do it for the May 19th primary, okay? So let's make the best out of a situation and make sure that you get your ballots. Number one, you can get your request for an absentee ballot by visiting IdahoVotes.gov, okay? And just read it. It's real simple, and you will be sent the ballot, okay? And those who cannot access IdahoVotes.gov, you will be sent an application for your ballot in the mail. Then you wait. Your request will be processed in about 3 to 7 days, and then you vote and return it. And it's got to be received by 8 p.m. June 2nd. There. I'm going to go through this every single day on the program so that we can have a good voter turnout, if you will, by absentee ballot by mail. All right. Whew, tired me out. What have we got cooking for tomorrow on the program? Why, we've got Dan Kish with the American Energy Alliance. We've got the Pacific Legal Foundation. We've got Armin Brott. We've got Dr. History via the long telephone line, long distance, and all of this and more. And we always wrap up our program by saying the way things were are the way things ought to be. Amen to that. And 4 words that mean the most: in God we trust. Absolutely. We'll be back here again tomorrow morning at 8:06 with my itty-bitty buddy over there at the station, and that's Wheels, always doing a great job for us. And until tomorrow, stay safe, stay warm, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.